Imagine a quiet girl, barely 16, stepping into a new school with her heart hammering like a thunderstorm. Her palms sweat, her eyes dart, and within hours the bullies lock onto her like missiles. They mock her clothes, her silence, her very existence. But what they don't know, she's carrying a secret that's about to turn their world upside down literally. If you love your mom and dad, hit that subscribe button and show some love. To this incredible story, Lila Monroe stood frozen at the edge of Lincoln High's bustling courtyard, her fingers gripping the straps of her worn backpack as if they were the only thing anchoring her to the earth. The Ohio sun was too bright, glinting off the glass doors of the school, and the air buzzed with the chaotic energy of first-period chatter. At 16, Lila was no stranger to new beginnings. Her father's job as a corporate troubleshooter dragged the family from city to city, Seattle, Denver, Raleigh. Now this mid-sized town in Ohio, each move promised a fresh start, but the pattern was always the same. New faces, new rules, and the same old dread pooling in her stomach. Her dark hair fell over her face, a shield against the curious glances of passing students. She adjusted her glasses, took a shaky breath, and stepped forward. The bell rang, a sharp clang that made her flinch, and she shuffled toward the main building, her sneakers scuffing the pavement. She didn't see the group of girls lounging by the entrance, but she heard them. A voice, loud and dripping with mockery, sliced through the morning noise. "Oh, wow, new girl. Did you raid your mom's closet for that outfit? Or is that like vintage thrift store chic?" Lila's cheeks burned, but she kept her eyes down, her pace quickening. The voice belonged to Courtney Vaughn, a junior with glossy blonde hair and a smile sharp enough to cut.
Oh.
Her friend's laughter followed Lila like a swarm of bees, stinging. Her resolve, she slipped inside, the cool air of the hallway a brief relief, and prayed the day would pass without further incident. Asterisk, it didn't. By second period, Courtney's taunts had spread like a virus. In English, Lila sat near the back, hoping to blend into the faded posters of Shakespeare and Poe. She was scribbling notes when a folded paper landed on her desk. She opened it, her hands trembling, to find a crude drawing of a girl with oversized glasses and the word loser scrawled in red marker. Her throat tightened, but she stuffed the note into her backpack, pretending not to notice the snickers from Courtney's corner of the room. At lunch, she found a corner table in the cafeteria, a sanctuary of sorts, and picked at her sandwich. The noise of the room clattering trays, shouting voices pressed against her, amplifying her anxiety. She was halfway through her meal when a tray slammed down across from her, the sound like a gunshot. She flinched, looking up to see Jess, Courtney's wiry second-in-command, grinning like a cat with a cornered mouse. "So, Lila, right? What's your deal? You're like mute or something? Too good to talk to us?" Lila mumbled something about being tired, her voice barely audible over the cafeteria din. Jess laughed, loud enough to turn heads. "Tired? Girl, you look like you're about to cry. Maybe you should go back to wherever you came from." The words hit like a slap, but Lila kept her gaze on her tray, her hands trembling under the table. Her mother's advice echoed in her mind. "Keep your head down, honey. They'll get bored." But Courtney and her crew didn't seem like the type to lose interest. Asterisk, the rest of the week was a relentless gauntlet. In the halls, Jess and their friend Tara tripped Lila, sending her books sprawling across the linoleum. In gym, Courtney accidentally bumped her during dodgeball, knocking her to the floor while the class laughed. By Thursday, the whispers followed her everywhere. "Freak. Nobody. Why is she even here?" Lila's anxiety, always a low hum, roared into a deafening crescendo. She barely slept, her nights filled with replays of the day's humiliations. Courtney's smirk, Jess's cackle, the sting of being invisible, yet hypervisible. Her parents noticed her silence at dinner, her fork pushing food around her plate. "Everything okay at school, sweetheart?" her mom asked, her nurse's scrubs still wrinkled from a long shift. Lila forced a smile, nodding, just adjusting.
Oh.
Her dad, buried in emails, didn't press. They had enough to worry about her dad's new project, Her mom's overtime at the hospital. Besides, what could they do? Tell the principal, snitch. That would only paint a bigger target on her back. So Lila endured, counting the hours until Friday, clinging to the hope that the weekend would offer a reprieve. Friday morning shattered that hope. As Lila approached her locker, her heart sank at the sight of Courtney leaning against it. Her arms crossed, her smile venomous. Yo, Lila, did you borrow that sweater from your grandma's closet? Or is it like a homeless chic thing? The hallway erupted in laughter, students slowing to watch the show. Lila's hands shook as she fumbled with her lock, her vision blurring with unshed tears. She wanted to disappear, to melt into the floor and never come back. And then, a new voice cut through the noise, deep and steady. Leave her alone, Courtney. Lila froze, glancing over her shoulder. A tall boy with messy brown hair and a faded band tee stood a few feet away, his arms crossed, his expression calm but firm. Courtney smirked, unfazed. Lease Ethan. Don't tell me you're into the sad girl aesthetic now. Ethan Hacienda, produtress. Ethan didn't blink. I'm just saying, pick on someone your own size. The crowd murmured, sensing a shift in the air. Courtney's eyes narrowed, but she tossed her hair and sauntered off, her crew trailing behind.
Lila exhaled,
her heart still racing. Ethan gave her a small nod before disappearing into the throng. She didn't know who he was, but for the first time all week, she felt a flicker of something like hope. That flicker faded by lunch. Courtney, stung by Ethan's interference, escalated her campaign. She and her friends cornered Lila in the cafeteria, their voices loud enough to silence. Nearby tables. So Lila, what's your deal? No friends, no style, no spine. Why even show up? Courtney's words were a blade, each one cutting deeper. Lila's throat tightened, her words stuck. She stared at her tray, willing herself not to cry. Then, a new voice sliced through the tension, sharp and fearless. Wow, Courtney, real classy. Bullying the new kid? Groundbreaking. Lila looked up to see a girl with short, dyed purple hair and a leather jacket leaning against a nearby table. She was glaring at Courtney, her arms crossed, her smile all teeth. Courtney scoffed. Mind your business, Riley. Riley's grin widened, dangerous. I think I'll make it my business. The tension crackled, the cafeteria holding its breath. Lila thought Courtney might back down, but instead she laughed, cold and cutting. Whatever. Go, girls. They left, but not before Jess bumped Lila's tray, spilling juice across her lap. Riley rolled her eyes and tossed Lila a stack of napkins. Ignore them. They're all bark. Lila mumbled a thanks, her face burning. 2 people had stood up for her today, Ethan, and Riley, but the humiliation still clung to her like damp. Clothes, after school, Lila hid in the library, dreading the walk home. She'd overheard Courtney planning to catch her after class, and the thought of another ambush made her stomach twist. She buried herself in a book, losing track of time, until the librarian gently shooed her out at closing. Steeling herself. She stepped into the late afternoon sun, the parking lot eerily quiet. Her sneakers crunched on gravel as she hurried toward the sidewalk, her pulse loud in her ears. Then she heard it. Footsteps behind her, fast and deliberate. She spun around, her breath hitching. Courtney, Jess. And Tara stood there, their smiles predatory. Going somewhere, Lila? Courtney purred, stepping closer. Lila backed up, her backpack bumping against a chain-link fence. She was trapped. Her mind raced, her anxiety screaming at her to run, to beg to do anything but stand there. But her body didn't move. Something else took over, something she'd buried deep. Lila. Hadn't told anyone, not her parents, not the kids at her old SE. Schools about the summer she'd spent with her uncle in Colorado. He was a retired martial arts instructor, a gruff man with a soft spot for his anxious niece. He'd seen her trembling hands, her averted eyes, and decided to teach her judo. For 3 months, he'd drilled her in throws and holds, showing her how to use an opponent's force against them. She'd loved it, the way it made her feel strong, in control. But when she moved again, she left it behind, too shy to join. A dojo too scared to stand out? Now, with Courtney looming over her, that training surged back. Courtney laughed, loud and mocking, and reached out to shove Leela's shoulder. It was a mistake. Leela's hands moved on instinct, grabbing Courtney's wrist, stepping to the side and flipping her over her shoulder. Courtney hit the ground. With a thud, her breath whooshing out. Jess and Tara froze, their mouths open. Lila stood there, her chest heaving, shocked as they were. The silence shattered as Courtney scrambled up, her face red with fury. "You're dead," she hissed, lunging at Lila. But Lila was ready now, her anxiety burned away by adrenaline. She sidestepped, using Courtney's momentum to send her stumbling into the fence. Jess and Tara backed away, their bravado gone. Courtney whirled, her hair wild, but before she could try again, a voice boomed across the lot. "What's going on here?" It was Mr. Hargrove, the gym teacher, striding toward them. Courtney pointed at Leela, her voice shrill. "She attacked me. She's crazy." Leela's heart sank. Who'd believe her, the anxious new girl, over Courtney Vaughn? But then Ethan stepped out from behind a parked car, his phone in hand. "Actually, I recorded the whole thing." Lila was defending herself. Courtney's face paled. Mr. Hargrove's eyes narrowed. "All of you principal's office now." The fallout was swift. By Monday, the principal had reviewed Ethan's video, edited. To protect Lila's privacy, Courtney, Jess, and Tara got a week's suspension, and their parents were called in. The school buzzed with whispers, but they were different now. Curious, intrigued, even impressed. Ethan found Lila at lunch, sliding into the seat across from her. "You okay?" he asked, his voice kind. She nodded, managing a small smile. "Thanks for the video." He shrugged, his cheeks pink.
Ow!
Couldn't let them lie their way out of it. Riley plopped down beside them, grinning. "Girl, that flip, iconic. You gotta teach me that." Lila laughed, the sound surprising her. For the first time, she felt like she might belong. But the story didn't end there. A week later, Leela found a note in her locker, unsigned, but written in Courtney's looping scrawl. "This isn't over." Her stomach twisted, but she didn't. Crumple the note. She showed it to Ethan and Riley, who insisted she take it to the principal. The school launched an investigation, and Courtney's crew was put on notice. Lila, meanwhile, started to change. She joined the self-defense club Riley dragged her to, rediscovering her love for judo. She began talking to her parents about her anxiety, their worry, pushing them to find her a therapist who understood. The move to Ohio, she realized, wasn't just another restart, it was a chance to become someone new. Months later, at the school talent show, Leela stood on stage, her heart racing, but her head high. She'd signed up to demonstrate a judo routine, a quiet tribute to her journey. As she flipped Riley, her willing partner, over her shoulder to thunderous applause, she caught Ethan's grin in the crowd. Courtney was there too, sitting in the back, her face unreadable. Lila didn't care. She'd faced worse than Courtney Vaughn and come out stronger. The bullies had mocked her, but she'd flipped more than just their leader. She'd flipped her own story, and she was never going back. Her parents sat in the front row, their faces glowing with pride. After the show, her mom hugged her tightly, whispering, "You're incredible." Lila smiled, her heart full. Lincoln High wasn't just another school, it was where she'd found herself. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind.
Always.
Judo routines sparked interest in the self-defense club, and soon she was helping Riley and others learn the basics. Ethan became a regular at their practices, his quiet support a steady presence. The whispers about her faded, replaced by nods of respect. Courtney, still stinging from her suspension, kept her distance, but Leela caught her lingering glares in the halls. One day, as Leela was leaving school, Courtney blocked her path, her arms crossed. "You think you're tough now?" she said, her voice low. Leela met her gaze, her heart steady. "I don't think anything. I just want to be left alone." Courtney blinked, caught off guard by Lila's calm. For a moment, they stood there, the air heavy. Then Courtney turned and walked away, her shoulders tense. Lila exhaled, realizing she'd just faced her fear and won. Asterisk by spring, Lila had friends, real friends. Riley's sarcasm and Ethan's quiet humor became her anchors. She started opening up in class, her hand rising more often, her voice growing. Stronger, her therapist helped her untangle the knots of her anxiety, teaching her to breathe through the panic. Her parents, seeing her progress, gave her more space to grow, their trust a quiet gift. One evening, as they sat around the dinner table, her dad looked at her and said, "You're different here, Lila. Stronger." She smiled, her eyes stinging. "I'm trying," she said. And she was. Asterisk, the school year ended with a surprise. The self-defense club was invited to perform at a regional competition. Lila led the team, her judo skills shining. They didn't win, but the crowd's applause felt like a victory. As they rode the bus back to Lincoln High, Riley leaned over and whispered, "You're kind of a legend now." Lila laughed, shaking her head. "I'm just me." But for the first time, that felt like enough. So where are you watching this story from? Drop a comment and let us know which part of the country you're repping.